Howdy lovelies, how are you all doing? Welcome back to our crafting, where we learn, grow and craft together. In today's session we are going to finalize the cover, and we are also going to bind our signatures into the half spine journal cover. Now without further ado, let's get started. There is still quite a bit to be done on here, and I am at this point thinking we might have to do a second session on this to get everything done. But let's see how far we get in this session. So for the cover, I finalized this. It is, however, cracking quite a bit, as this is really thick. I finalized the pattern, the zebra stripes up there, leopard here, and the giraffe print. And then I went ahead and I stamped an image on here that I would use. I cannot decide yet whether it will be watercolor pens or distress crayons and marker pen just to round it off, or will I use Posca pens from the start. I will still see. I haven't decided yet. So what we need to do is we need our signatures, which I have. I went ahead and I already put them together in the order that I want, so they are ready for me to use. Now, you know that I already made a mistake with that one sheet that is upside down. So if I open it up, it will be the second one. The margin is on the right because my stamping is on the inside, so I did not check my directions. So now is a good time to check that everything is upright and that they are in the order that I want them to appear. And yes, because it's on cardstock, there's quite a bit showing. It's pushing out. It's quite thick on this side because there's 5 sheets in every signature. So a total of 15 sheets will be added. And then this one. Now, I made my selections. They are also beautiful. I wish I could have had them all in one signature, which will be impossible. It will keep on pushing out at the end. This is not a problem. So there we have our signatures. Now, we need some string. We need our beads. And I have got a very long needle. You don't need such a long needle. That's what I use here. It's my pokey tool that I use like an awl sometimes when I am doing the sew in journals, where I sew in the signatures. This is just to get the thread through that I will be using to bind my signatures. Now remember, there will be 3, so we would have our on the outside showing on the outside here. Once we've done that, we will come back to this. In fact, I think I want to just do the inside first, because once it is bound, it's very difficult. So I'm going to go ahead and just on this white on the inside, I went around and I put some ink around just to bring that vintage feel into this. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to ink with some yellow and I think red or orange to get this. So I will be inking the white parts and then I will stencil on top of that. I chose mustard seed in distress ink, and then I'm going to use lumberjack plate on top in distress oxide. So everything will be yellow, and I will then do the red on top. So let me just ink this and get it saturated. I don't mind if there's some yellow going over onto the sides. I just want to get this. And I'm dabbing and putting it directly onto the inside of the cover. I know I'm not looking for an even coverage. I just want the background yellow. I think if it's uneven, it just lends itself to a little bit more interest. You can see there's a bit of glue everywhere. That is showing up now when I am inking this. The beauty of these products is they change a bit of color the more you add. So there will be variants in here. One side is done. Let's continue with the centerpiece. I think a simple stencil will work best, but still something that has got that feel of an African pattern. So there we have the yellow part. Just making sure there's enough ink all over. I'm going to change the ink blending tools now. Oh, I actually don't need to. That one is already sorted. And lumberjack plate in Distress Oxide. Now this one is a flat. It's just a normal ink blending tool. Now just going to put this over, and we'll start on the one side and then just move to the other. Once we maybe get there, we go move it over. We'll see how this works. And now the red. Just applying this in circular motions. I didn't take the stencil down, just making sure I don't move it. So moving my fingers all along so that I can just grip it and hold it in place. If you prefer, you can use low-tack tape just to hold it in place while you are busy applying the ink. And now I don't want it perfectly red, just making sure. Oops, I just moved it, but it's okay, we can just align it again and do the rest of this. And the last bit on this corner. And there we have that. Now we're moving into this one. Now let's see. I want to just, now let's move this up so that that fits. I'm going to do it like that. Now just be careful that I don't add any ink there. And I'm just doing this so that this can fit without any hassles on this side. And now to have this lift up, the post-it note from here, I will just hold that in place. There we go. So that worked out nicely. Let's move on to this side. Let's do the top left corner and then move down to the bottom. Just dabbing and adding the ink in circular motions. And the last few, and I just moved it. If you do, just realign, and then you can finish the stenciling. I think that looks awesome. Now to really see the effect of this, once I lift it up, let's close that post-it note to one side. We'll reuse those. There we go. Oh, that looks good. It almost gives me that feel of a giraffe print. I see there's a bit of paint here. There we go. It will just bother me. And the inside is done. We are going to, I think, color this. See, I had it upside down, but the pattern is not of such nature that it will be bothersome. Anyway, it really makes me think of a giraffe print, though it's not. It's like little cubes, but you only see the one side of it. Right, I think let's continue with this. Maybe Posca pens rather than the distress colors or the watercolor pens. To me, Africa reminds me of vitality, bright colors, lots of bright colors, so I will be adding that, and hence my decision to use the Posca pens. So I will start by coloring this. Will probably be a slow process just to remain within that, but the acrylic paint is awesome. It's really having a good coverage. Yes, there will be some of the print of the old book pages showing through, and that is fine with me. If you don't want that, I suggest first put a layer of gesso and then you can look at this. So I want quite a bit of yellow here. Sorry for the sound in your ears. First going for the basics. Which just make sure your pen is well saturated. Want to bring in a bit of red as I will be using those red beads. You can use whatever you wanted to color your image. You don't have to even color an image. You can use maybe a postcard that you cut to size, an image from a magazine, something that you've printed, some paper maybe that you have. Anything will go to finalize your cover. I will continue to color the rest off camera just so that we save a bit of time on the video and I do not bore your stuff. So I'm back after coloring that and just finalizing it with a black pen. I don't particularly like this white, so I'm just going to work in a little bit of salvage patina in there using a finger dauber because it's a smaller area that I can then apply this to. I don't particularly like that white background there, so I'm just going to put a bit of the salvage patina in there, and it's distress oxide, just a bit, just to take that whiteness away there. It works within the zebra stripes, but not particularly for me for the background of this. So there we have that one. Now to put in our signatures. So the cover is complete. Yes, I'm a bit worried about this splitting like that and the inside. So just need to keep this upright. What do we need to do now? We're going to start with binding our signatures into our journal. So I'm going to use that very long needle. I've got my beads here. I'll just take it out of the packaging. Then I keep it in because I've got the tendency to lose things on my desk, so I prefer to just keep the whole lot together. It's easier to find it that way than to look for individual beads. I'll just put that to one side. Now we need to get this over. So what's going to happen is the signature is going to go in there, and before we tie it, we have to, now you can see that this is really terribly breaking apart, but I will put some PVA glue in there in a minute or so, just so that there's a bit of leeway for it. And yes, it's going to open, but we will tie it with some form of a closure in the end, which should have been in there already had I thought about this beforehand. So which one do I want first? Let's see. Now, not to get this confused, it needs to be upright. Just checking one last time that all the pages are supposed to be are in the order that they should be. Upright. I think upright is the most important thing. So let's start with this one. That will be the middle one, so I'll put that to one side. We'll do this one first. I'm going to just use some crochet yarn, and yes, I'm going to be very liberal with this pair of scissors. Just snip that so that we have enough. Getting the center of this, which is this page, I think. Going to put this around it, and this is why we needed to have this in cardstock, so that it is actually, wait, see what I almost did? This way. We have to make sure that directionality is sorted. Now I'm just going to put this in there, and this needs to just be upright, listen to me, upright, keep that together. And this is why our cover had to be so strong. Now, I know I have been very liberal with adding this, we want it more or less in the middle. I'm going to flatten it out. Needs to be quite tight so that it cannot move around. Now, going to just thread this needle because I don't think it's going to go through on its own. If it does, it's fine. Let's see if it's working. It's working. We don't need the needle then. So, going to start with one bead. Don't pull this out completely. Then I think I want a yellow bead for the middle signature, which is what we're adding now first. And then another red one that doesn't have the glitter nail polish on it. And I hope you can still see what I'm doing. Just threading that through. I wonder if this one will go through. There we go. And now we're going to tie this. See, our beads are just working out fine for the length of our spine. They wrap around. So now we're going to tie a knot up there. And we're going to move this underneath. Just let's pull that through. And there we have that. If you have smaller beads, you can add more of those. Just make sure that this is really tight. You don't want any slack on this. Just want to get the string sorted, all that in place. And we're going to tie this again. If you want to, you can push the thread again through there and tie it from the other side. I, however, just want to make sure that this is tied properly with another knot. I am going to trim this because I don't know yet what I want to do, but not at this moment, because this can be used to add some tags to. So I'm just going to get a paper clip. If I can just grab one quickly. And I'm just going to add this to the bottom here so that it doesn't unravel and not bother me. So I decide what I want to do with that. So that's the first signature. And that's how that is looking. Yes, I will still fix that. So there we have it. This one can now be just a bit adjusted to where you want it placed. Now for the next signature. Same way, going to add it this way, which will be this one. Again, take string. Maybe not as much as the previous time now. Making sure your pages are upright so that I don't have the same mess up as the previous one. Incorporated some of the chatbots, the national flower of South Africa. This is a pity that I have messed up that one page. The middle of this signature is this one, and the same thing. Now we need to put it this way before I forget. And I'm going to just get the string, lift all of this, and it basically just hooks in there, getting this to move up a bit. I'm going to just, you can move it around afterwards. I just like to get it sorted from the beginning, where more or less I want it. Same thing. Now we're going to start again with a red bead. Hopefully this will go through yet again. Doesn't really matter which way we go. Let's do it from the bottom to this side. Ah, this one is also going through. Would it be blue or green? Let's go for blue. And then another red one. There we have that. I love the way that the beads turned out. Love the cover. And as I said when we were making the cover, I am not a painter. So there we have that. The red ones might be a tiny bit too long. Have it tight, no slack in it. And we're going to tie this. Don't pull too hard that you cut your sheets, but it really needs to be pulled tight so that there's less wiggle room for it. Because if they wiggle, they will. And see what I've just done? I now made that loop, so I now have to try and get this to loosen up. This might just pose a problem, but it's paper. If all else fails, we just cut it loose and start again. But there we go. I need to just try and pull it so that I don't damage the string. There we go. I need to just hold it tight there while I tie the knot. And that is the part of crafting that would have been amazing if we had an extra set of hands or a few extra fingers. Now I'm going to do that again. I'm just going to turn this a little bit, and yes, I am moving it. So just lining up everything again on the inside. Working with long strings is really a problem, and the more I pull this, the more I want to tangle this. So while you pull on the one, you tighten the other, and I think that is the trick to this. Once you've done that second knot, it's secure and you can simply tie it. So I'm going to do the same thing as the first one, pull this through, and using another paper clip just to hold it in place so that we can decide what we want to do with it later on. So maybe just trim that little bitty. When we add the ephemera, making the ephemera in the next session, we can then decide what we want to do with these little strings. But in the meantime, there they are. So now, the last signature. And one is already coming apart there. Let's just maneuver that in there. Keeping this upright, we're going to now add the first signature, which is there. This is our last signature that we're adding. Also making sure that is all together. Get the center of it, which is the water hole. Now remember, turn this over so that it is in the right direction. Don't bind it in upside down, which is something I would probably easily be able to do. Now we're going to move this, and I almost put the string in wrong. So let's add that there, and then we're going to add the string, picking up all the signatures, almost left one behind. So we've got all of that, and we've got the string on the outside. And now to add the last set of beads. Green bead, there we go, and the last red bead. I just want to pull the trick was earlier to just move it so that I can see what I'm doing this side, hold it in place, and then just tie the little knot from this side while pulling. And just holding that in place. And once that is tight, you can really get a good knot in there. So we're going to knot it again. And once you have made the second knot, it's secure enough to just work on that. Again, we're going to pull this through to the middle. Yes, we can just adjust that. And for now, just rolling that up, as I don't know whether I want to add beads in the middle, charms, tags, whatever I want to add. Natasha is showing a wonderful way of adding these tags to the page where it's dangling, and you can then fasten it with a paper clip or a little small clip. So I've got these few beads still left. Maybe I will add that, who knows. So there we have our journal. I just want to add a bit of glue in there so that it doesn't crack so much, but there we have our signatures. Now while you are here, you can now adjust this to where you want it and have it spaced out evenly. You can, if you want to, go ahead and add some more beads. I just want to fix that crack in the cover, which is from the thickness of the masterboard, because I've added so many layers. And like we said when we were starting to do the pattern on it, it is in retrospect that I realized I should have just used PVA glue. That would have given a bit more of a movement in there, so that when it bends, it can bend with that elasticity, tiny bit of elasticity. The glue stick might not have been the best choice. And it's sad that it's cracking open, but it is what it is. And this will dry. So let me just do this side as well, where it's really cracking quite a bit. Next time I will know not to make it so thick, because this is really, really cracking. I'll just leave this to dry so that it has got enough time. So in today's session, we have then added our signatures, we've finished the cover, and we bound it in with the wraparound method that Natasha is also explaining well, which I will link below for you. I have in the previous video added it already if you want to go and have a look. Our cover is done. This can now just dry so that it can bend. In the next session, we will be starting on our ephemera, making tags and things like that. Remember, we're using the digital kit from Digi and SVG Designs for you. They're available on Etsy, and we printed that already with the start of the series. We've got all the pieces, so we will be working on that. No more cutting as it's all cut out, but I will be adding pieces here and there, making my own tags and things that I want to include, and maybe add a pocket or so, because as an afterthought, this is really a thick cover, and it will, I don't want to bend it now while it's still drying, but it will open up, so we need some sort of a fastener just so that we can close it somehow. But there's our beautiful cover. I love the beads. Thank you, Natasha, again for the inspiration, and of course thank you to Digi and SVG Designs for their beautiful kit. And now we're going to give our journal character by adding the little things. And if you followed me in the previous series where I've made the mushroom journal, you know that I love to first make the ephemera before I start making the journal. In my second series, I had done the steampunk journal in a box, and there were little ephemera made for that one. Because of the height of the box, we didn't have that leeway. For this one, however, there's lots of space. You can see my finger fits in between there, which is giving us enough space to add some lovely goodies from their kit. Thank you for joining me today. I hope you're making progress on your journal. If you do, please tag Wobble Crafting on social media. I would love to see what you are making. And of course, I would also want to see how you are inspired. And if you really find these videos valuable, you want to see more content like this, give me a thumbs up. As always, I'll be appreciating it if you subscribe to my channel too. If you haven't done so yet, please hit that notification bell so that you can be notified whenever I upload new content. See you back soon. Goodbye.